I'm going to take you on my journey of the Trail of the Painted Ponies, and thank you, Lynn and Kathy, for hosting this, and Hoyt for all your technical assistance.
You bet.
And I did 3 life-size ponies for the Trail of Painted Ponies, 2 official ones. The first one, Give Me Wings, and then Horse Feathers. And Horse Feathers is at Tanner Gallery, and Give Me Wings sold. And then I found a horse on the street and was able to fix it. And that is this last one, Good Medicine. The Trail of the Painted Ponies was a public arts program. And this is the first year they did a book with all of the painted ponies. There were 120 and 120 artists. We had a book signing, and all of the life-size horses, when they were finished, were gathered together in one place. And there was a big gala and a book signing. It was kind of like signing yearbooks in high school. My first horse was Horse Feathers, and it was inspired by a painting I'd done called Sea Spot Run. This one has the nations: man, yellow man, white man, red man, and black man. And then the harmony of all the colors in the Appaloosa. This is what the life-size horses looked like as they were delivered to the artist wherever we were going to be working. The original sculpture was done by Star Linda York, and she sculpted it after one of her mares that was slightly pregnant. She wanted to have that big belly kind of a form for us to be able to paint on if we needed it. This is a paper drawing of my proposal. I had to submit a proposal, and then we had to find a sponsor, and we found the people that owned Old Town Emporium, which was a t-shirt shop in Old Town Albuquerque. This is Barbara and Ken Hummel, and they were the sponsors of the horse. We worked on the horse. I worked on the horse every day in a tent outside, and then every night we brought the horse into the building up those steps. And I started the horse in Ken and Barbara's garage by sanding and working on sculpted feathers and priming. We had to sand a lot of layers off. You had to get past the mold release that they used when they were casting this resin. They spray the inside of the mold with a release, and that release kind of stays as a film on the surface. And it has to be ground off. It can't be washed off or used using chemicals are not successful. If it doesn't all get sanded, the paint won't stick. And this is priming, and I sculpted 7 feathers out of resin, the same material the horse was cast in. And here I am just working on horse feathers in the tent. Getting started, sketching. I'm using one-shot sign paint. This is a really excellent paint. It will fade, as everything will in the southwestern sun, but it's good to 7 years outdoors. And of course, these horses really should be inside because they're a piece of art, and they're not going to be sustained outside for that long. I'm working my way down on both sides. Crowds came every day, lots of people watching the work and asking questions. This is Rod Barker. He's the director of Trail of the Painted Ponies. It was his idea to start this public arts project. Almost done. The mounted police stopped by. We took a picture. I apologize for the quality of this picture, but the digital cameras back then were not what they are now. And there's Horse Feathers done. I hadn't painted the base. They told me that they would be bringing me another base, but as it turned out, they didn't. And so later on, I had to do some artwork on the base as well. So here's the tale of horse feathers, and here's the inspiration. I was out at the Larrabee Ranch up in Corrales, and they have some beautiful Appaloosas up there, and I was photographing and using a lot of bits and pieces of different horses to work horse feathers. They're very sweet and friendly horses. My second pony, the first one, horse feathers, was won at auction by High Desert State Bank and went to the bank in the lobby. And that bank sponsored my second horse, Give Me Wings. A second book came out, and Give Me Wings was featured in that. You notice that this is a running horse in this picture. It was actually a small maquette that they used in the book rather than the life-size horse. And here's my proposal on paper. Sanding and sanding. They warned me when I thought it was sanded enough to sand it some more. Starting the painting. We took it over to High Desert State Bank to work on it there and paint in public. And this is the front of the bank, and the horse was partially painted, but I decided to go finish it up at the bank. However, the fumes from the paint are quite strong, as are the solvents, and after a couple of days, they decided that maybe I was going to have to finish it up at home. And so we packed it up and took it back to my house. The eagle. And we're still at the bank in this shot. And there's High Desert horse feathers. It was just horse feathers, not High Desert. The figurines they made later on were called High Desert horse feathers. And there's Give Me Wings partially done. And here it is all the way finished. Oh, yeah. 10 years later, there was a change of ownership in the bank, and some of the artwork that was in the bank became available at auction. And one of the auctioneers for horse feathers had called me to find out some information, the background of the horse and the stories behind it. And he suggested that I might want to join the auction and see if I could bid on it. And I did, and I won. And that's how I ended up with horse feathers back in my possession. So we're wrapping it up. That's my grandson and granddaughter helping. And Nikki and Quinn are helping unpeel the horse. Now there, over a 10-year period, there was some damage. This feather had been broken and somebody had glued it back together. And the base, remember I had painted the base that we thought we were going to get a new base, but this time I decided I'd go back in and rework the base. So I painted the background surface a different color from black, sort of a maroon, and I used these pieces of trim to create sort of a faux turquoise using sponge painting technique, creating like a turquoise edge. Rebuilt some feathers, including the broken one, and decorated them with leather and bone, pony beads, and puka shells. She's quite fancy now. And here's the 360 on horse feathers, all dolled up again. If anybody else had won it in the auction, they wouldn't have been able to do this. So I'm really glad I was able to get her back and get her up to par again. So we're wrapping her up, putting her in the truck, and we're headed to Ruidoso. This is the pass between Las Cruces and White Sands. And there is Tanner Tradition Gallery. If you're up in Ruidoso and you're looking for Tanner, you can just look at this big old satellite dish that's been painted to look like an Indian basket. It's quite stunning and easy to see. So there's horse feathers in the gallery, along with another horse that's no longer there, but it was painted by a Hopi artist named Buddy, and I'll not even attempt Buddy's last name, but anyway, their horse feathers is there. Good medicine. All right, the story on good medicine. I had done a proposal way back in the beginning for a piece called Good Medicine. And I came across this horse one day driving down Main Street, Las Cruces. It was tied up with a piece of twine to a pole, and it belonged to the people that own the ceramic shop back there, and they had bought it at Habitat Restore. He didn't want to sell it, but let me just say, I made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And I ended up owning 2 horses. I called this the crime scene pony because everybody who owns this horse had done some artwork on it. The tail was broken off, which made this horse pretty much worthless. But that was not going to be a concern for me because I could fix it. Many people tried to fix it, so I'll show you some of the solutions. This dripping stuff down here is some kind of foam glue, and these are pieces of shirts and t-shirts and things stuffed in the hole. That was the tail. It weighed 18 pounds, and here's Ed holding the tail packed with stuff and glue. So to fix it, I cut a hole in the belly big enough for me to crawl inside. And I worked from the inside and outside, bringing the tail in, bolting it on the inside, and packing it with resin clay, several pounds of resin clay, and just basically making that hole back in very heavy duty rather than the thin shell of the original casting. Then I used resin clay on the outside to seal any of the cracks and seams and started sanding it completely smooth. Sanding the base. Mm-hmm. This is my supervisor, Bandit. This was 10 years ago. He was quite young then. Primer. Cutting aluminum sheeting to create the feathers that I was going to make on this horse. And starting to sculpt the feathers. Here's a detail of that using the sculpting tool. The resin clay dries hard in about 4 hours. I have about 3 active hours to be able to sculpt with it. After that, I can carve or drill or sand, but it's no longer soft. And it hardens very, very hard, like a metal or marble. I decided this horse needed eyes, so I'm starting to sculpt eyes. And this is one of the eyes done, but not sanded yet. And that's sanded and primed. And beginning the painting of the eye. I like the eyelashes. Painting in my house. And this is the Good Medicine finished and sitting in my living room. Right now, when you joined us in the meeting, it was sitting behind me in the computer room. It sort of alternates between those 2 rooms. When we want a fire in the fireplace, I have to move it. And those are the feathers. And here's a 360.
one too.
The close-up of the base. I did the same thing with this base that I did with horse feathers. I used multiple colors and sponged it on to create the look of turquoise rock. And Trail of the Painted Ponies offers a paint your own pony kit. And the pony is 9 inches from nose to tail and 6 inches from the top of the mane to the hooves. I have painted quite a few of these. There's 21 that I'm going to show you here, but I think there were more. This one is called Andalusian Pony. And I do a lot of sculpting with these ponies. So the first thing I did was cut the tail off because it's an Andalusian horse and I wanted that tail to go all the way to the ground. And I was working on sculpting these stars and sanding them. And then I started painting illusions onto the surfaces. The first illusion I painted on the base was this checker pattern at the bottom. And those squares are straight. But when I glued on the Swarovski crystals in a specific pattern, this area where the crystals are, the lines appear to bend and it looks like a dome. And I don't see it as much in the photograph, but if you saw the real horse, which is still available, you could see that. This is an illusion where you stare at one of the wheels and the others have a sensation of moving. If you don't see it on one, just switch your eyes to the other or back and forth. And you might see a sensation of movement. And here's a little further back. I think I find this one easier to see. Stare at one and the peripheral vision of the others will have a sensation of movement. It's like they're turning. Some people can't see them, it's okay. My husband, Ed, has never been able to see them turn. Here's a 360 of Andalusian Pony. This is an original pony. Apache Spirit Basket Pony. I grew up at San Carlos Apache Reservation, one of the reservations I lived on. And this is an Apache burden basket that I'm holding in my hand. And I'm using the pattern of the basket to create texture on the horse with my resin clay. And this is an Apache burden basket. I just want to show you what they look like. I am creating a burden basket in clay, literally sculpting every fiber as it weaves in and out, inside and outside. This is the basket, fairly finished. The gap here is where it's going to fit on the feet, and then I have to finish it later with sculpture. So I've started painting the textures, doing layers to make a pattern, painting the horse, the blue-eyed paint horse. I'm working on the inside. The interesting thing about the baskets, they're made out of willow bark. When the weaver is weaving the basket, there's a dark side and a light side. And as they weave the basket and twist, the light side may be outside or inside the basket, and that's how they create a pattern. So as I painted my basket, I started with my base coat, and then whatever design I did on the outside, I did the opposite design on the inside, which would be the way a basket would actually look. I started collecting Apache burden baskets when I was moved to the first reservation, San Carlos. I was 9 years old, and I have a basket that I bought when I was 9 years old at the tribal store. I'm putting the chamois skin leather on, real leather, But this edge around the basket and here is clay painted to look like leather. And here's a 360. Brass jingles. This is another influence from San Carlos. When we were young, we used to attend ceremonies of like the coming out ceremonies for young ladies that were coming of age. And this is the beginning. Cut the mane off and put the designs on. Texturing, sanding, drawing, painting. These are the crown dancers. The crown dancers have fringes, and I put a crown dancer skirt around the pony, snipping and putting on every little bit of jingle. This is the finished piece with the jingles on. Buffalo Soldier pony. I have a friend who is an impersonator of buffalo soldiers, and he was very helpful with giving me photographs of his McClellan saddle and all of the gear and tack that a buffalo soldier would have used in the 1800s. And his horse that he uses when in his impersonations, his name was Ghost, and he was a white horse. And there is a documentation that one of the buffalo soldiers, a sergeant, had a white horse. Excuse me. Okay, everything is there, including the coffee cup. The Dark Horse pony, this was inspired by the Triple Crown winners, starting with the jockey saddle. Wanted to put the eyes in. Most of my little ponies all have eyes. That's the crown, 3 crowns together for the Triple Crown. And this will be the blanket of flowers. Starting to make the carnations for, I think that's Belmont. And the Lazy Susan, the Black-Eyed Susans, Black-Eyed Susans for Preakness, and the Kentucky Derby Roses. So the 3 flowers are at the base as well. Painting, underpainting, layering the colors. The 8, for me, that was behind the 8 ball, the dark horse, the unexpected winner. You may have heard that term, the dark horse. Some people aren't familiar with it, but it's the unexpected winner. Swarovski crystals at the bottom on the crown. Father Sky, Mother Earth. Father Sky has the eagle behind him, and he's holding the sun in his hand. Medicine wheel on top with a buffalo skull. And this is Mother Earth. She has a clay jar, the jar of earth and clay, and she's releasing the waters of life, and all the animals are flowing out of Mother Earth. The mammals, the slithering, the swimming, they're all being released. And here's a going home. This is a horse that's running away riderless. You can put a story to that. It was a warrior's horse and it's leaving and it's riderless. There's the handprint on the back, coup marks on the nose for victory. The circle around the eye helps the horse see better. Ownership of the horse. And the red feather is hawk feather, red tail hawk feather. On Gossamer Wings pony, I actually did 2 of these. Trail of the Painted Ponies was thinking about using this as a figurine, but unfortunately it wasn't chosen. The first horse I did, the butterflies were raised, and they said that I would need to redo it where the butterflies could be cast. So you see there's no undercut on this butterfly, so it could be cast. And you'll see the other horse, they'll be side by side. This is, this woman, my friend Stormy, is blowing on a giant dandelion, and the umbels of the dandelion are turning into butterflies. And when you go to the other side, the butterfly turns into a woman. The woman creates the butterflies and the butterfly becomes a woman. And here are the 2 ponies side by side. This is the first one. And you can see that it would not have been able to cast it. This is something that they could make a mold of and cast. Unfortunately, it didn't get chosen. Hi-ho, silver bells. Sculpting the bells out of the resin clay. Swarovski crystals for the notes. And here we have a 360. I donated this pony to Cowboys Fighting Cancer here, a local charity. Unfortunately, COVID came along when they were about to have their auction, so I think it's being tabled for a while. Road to Bethlehem. There's Mary and Joseph, Bethlehem in the distance. The star is Swarovski crystals. And on the other side are the wise men and camels. The shepherd is in the front with the sheep. Hide and seek. There's a squirrel on one side and a chipmunk on the other, and lots of oak leaves and acorns. The fall feeling. They're so cute. And this is the paper proposal. I made this for myself. I proposed it to Trail. It wasn't taken. They get hundreds of proposals daily, so I didn't feel bad. I went ahead and made it and sold it right away at an art show. So it, to me, is that's quite an honor to have somebody take my artwork home with them. Mustang Sally pony. So I have some friends that have Mustangs, several of them, and I used all their photographs, went and photographed their cars and put the Mustangs running at the top and used the Mustang logo. I'll just let you see how this develops. You can see the horses on the neck in the clouds. They look funny because they're following the contour of the horse, so there's some strange looks to those grills. The top down. The people who bought Mustang Sally owned a company in El Paso called Mustang Express, and he commissioned this pony. It is his trucks, his Volvo trucks. That's his logo on the side of the truck, and this is one of, I think he has 40 of these trucks. And they all are always beautiful, all the time. Sculpting the words and the horses and a star that's going to be the star that's on the mountain in El Paso. We see it in the evening, it's lit up. So put the star up on the top of a mountain, and there's going to be a truck driving down a lane. Truck going, truck coming. Here's the star, here's the cityscape of El Paso and the road moving around the horse. And here's the other side of the truck. A little more detail. The Purple Heart pony. This pony was commissioned by a family whose son had been awarded the Purple Heart. He was having a difficult time with his injuries, and they wanted to commission this pony for him, and it was a delight to do. The Queen of Denial. This piece was purchased by a couple in Texas, and I really enjoyed doing it. I loved that headpiece and the raven on the tail. There's certain features of this horse that just really, I just had so much fun with it. Here's the beginning of it. A lot of sculpting, polishing, sanding, carving, painting. Swarovski crystals again. Oh, here she is. She's the pharaohess is riding her charge in her chariot. There's the pyramids behind there, and there's a big crystal up here in the corner, and then some small ones. You might see that in another view here. It's very sparkly. River dance. Up in South Dakota at Artist Ride, every morning they drive the horses down to the river, and we line up and get ready for it as the horses are running in the water and the splashes, and oh, it's just such a great scene. So I decided that this horse was going to be a little simpler. I don't have any sculpting on it. It's all painted. This looks like it might be sculpted, but these are just painted splashes made to look three-dimensional, but they're not. Summer Hummer. This is one of my favorite subjects in painting. I do quite a few hummingbirds. I sculpted the hummingbirds. Here's the top down. This is what I thought was so cool. The wings of the hummingbird almost make this horse look like a Pegasus from the top down, a winged horse. And these are staghorn cholla cactus. Our feeder is hummingbirds everywhere right now. They are just going crazy. Lots of models to work with. This is my friend Dawn in a painting on a painted pony. It's called Tatanka Brothers. Don is holding a pipe. He's resting. It's the end of the day for the Buffalo Soldier. So be in about the 1860s. They're coming out of the smoke. It's a little hard to see from this view, but there's a stylized buffalo, and the smoke curls around the pony, and it goes into two buffalo, and these are sculpted buffalo. You'll see the dimension of them on this view. Buffalo Soldier. And that's my friend Dawn Parrish. Tatanka Christmas. I did a painting called Tatanka Christmas, and I wanted to do a version of it as a pony. And this is Jay Lewis, my model, and he's in a sled, and there's toys, there's Indian dolls, and little stuffed buffalo, and bows and arrows, and he's being pulled by buffalo. And there's the other side, in the village, they're looking up in the silhouette in the sky of a sled being pulled by buffalo. The top down. And here are the buffalo going up into the sky and off to the next village. The chief pony. This was very intricate sculpture. I'll talk to you about it as we go along. I started out by creating an armature of aluminum sheeting that would be the feathers. Something has to support that clay. Putting the clay on each of those feathers. Front and back, inside and out, all around. And this is Chief, one of the horses that we put a bonnet on him. This is not a real eagle feather bonnet. It's a replica made out of turkey feathers and dyed on the end. We're very respectful of eagle feather bonnets. They're not to be toyed with or played with. So I had Chief modeling that bonnet as I did all the detail. There was one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to do real beadwork up on the headband. And this is a very tiny piece. That's at the base, the eagle feather. So the real beadwork was going to go right here. And because this is such a small piece, I was going to have to use size 22, which means 22 beads per inch. The average size for beadwork is about 11 to 12. So this was almost half the size of normal beadwork that you might see in stores. The needle was special. The thread was a hair. It was special bead thread just for this. And it was a challenge. It was so exciting to see it when it was finished and on the horse. The proportion was perfect. Here's my feather at the bottom, and I did a beaded band on the feather as well. Ursus pony. This is a commission. Someone asked me, they like bears. Could you do a bear pony? And Ursus, there is the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper on this one, and a bear fetish design, and the grizzly bears. That was all sculpted and carved. Here's the Big Dipper, Little Dipper, Big Bear, Little Bear, Ursa Major, Ursus Minor. Bear paw on this side. My friend Kathleen is a wildlife veterinarian, and she cares for bears when they're injured in fires, and baby bears that are orphaned, and releases them to the wild. And she sent me this picture. It's been very helpful for a lot of my artwork. And I'll give you the 360 of Ursus pony. Swarovski crystals for the stars. High Desert horse feathers. This is the figurine that was made from horse feathers, the original pony at the gallery right now. Most of them, you could maybe find them on eBay and maybe Amazon, I'm not sure. I managed to save a few and tuck them away for several decades, and I now have them for sale. And this would be one at the gallery, and it's a High Desert pony. But the thing that's special about this pony, besides being unique, there were only 5,000 made, and a lot of these figurines had hundreds of thousands of reproductions. High Desert State Bank wanted a figurine of their pony and asked Trail of the Painted Ponies, I'm sorry, Trail of the Painted Ponies if they would produce their horse as a figurine. Trail said, well, you'd have to order 1,500, thinking that would be the end of it. But the bank did order 1,500, and they gave them away with each person depositing 10,000 or more to the bank. They got a figurine, and that was an incentive, like in a toaster or something. And they were all given out before they were even made. So they ordered 3,500 more, and in total, there were only 5,000 made. It was an exclusive edition, only 5,000, all 1E, and no more were made from that point on. This one I've hand painted. I painted the blaze and widened it. I've detailed the eyes, the feather, the ears. I've painted all over this horse, trying to make it look as much like the original pony as possible. Flutterby pony. These are not Trail of the Painted Pony figures. These are aluminum. They're cast in Mexico, brought over to the United States, unassembled, and then welded together over here so that they don't have to pay an art level of duty or customs because they're in pieces. So I buy these. I've only bought two, but I bought them in El Paso, and they're made out of aluminum. It's a life-size foal. Sculpting, of course, putting feathers on. This one's Flutterby foal. And this paint is aluminum primer. Painting in my living room. Put a mask, a butterfly mask on the horse. I created some decorations that are going to go on the chest of the horse. And this is the base my husband made, and then I was painting it. It's made out of oak. And these are the ornaments that I attached to the chest and the forehead. And there it is. Give Me Little Wings was another pony that I did from the same form, the aluminum form, out of El Paso. They all look the same when I start. There's a lot of work that has to be done on them, a lot of grinding and filling with Bondo and getting it all fixed up. So this summer, my grandchildren were helping me sand. And then our living room was converted into a studio to work on the horse. Give Me Little Wings. Give Me Wings, the larger one, was inspired after 9/11. And Little Wings followed 11 years later. I made a blanket for it. And there's Lynn and Kathy standing in front of that amazing basket made out of, what's it made out of? The TV antenna. Dish, satellite dish, there we go. And there's their gallery dogs and my horse. And we are done. Okay, that was a long ride.
Beautifully done, Captain.
Oh, thank you, thank you. When I was in, y'all could unmute if you wanna ask questions. When I was studying art at Northern Arizona University, I took painting my freshman year and decided that the instructors for painting and I were not going to survive 4 years together. So I moved over to sculpting, and I did a bronze bust of my father, and I did a lot of sculpture and jewelry and ceramics, and stayed in that area. And I actually didn't pick up the brush and start painting until 12 years later. It took me that long to recover from one semester of a painting class. So, long story, I won't go into it. But anyway, I do enjoy painting, and I love color, and I love to paint now. So let me get this. I can see you all. Do you have any questions?
What is one of those ponies, the small ponies you made? What do they cost?
The most expensive one is that Apache basket, and that's $4,500.
Well, the others are.
Okay.
From there down, they average, the lower end would be $1,800, and usually somewhere in around $2,500 for a moderately sculptured piece. The basket was insane.
Yeah. Thank you.
It was a crazy lady making that basket.
Hey, Kathy.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Dave and Penny here in Albuquerque. And On Gossamer Wings still has a proud display in our living room.
Yeah.
And it has been there for a long time.
Well, you guys own both of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
including the painting, the original on Gossamer Wings.
Painting, yes, the painting that inspired the pony. Yeah, they're real fans of Gossamer Wings pony.
Hey, Kathy,
Yes, hi, David.
my dad would have loved the Egyptian one.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, my dad would have loved that one.
I love the Egyptian one. I mean, I don't think it could have gotten any sparklier.
No, I mean, yeah, he was into all that. So he was Tutankhamun. It was one of his favorite subjects. So
Yes, yes.
and I like the Apache Burden one. I feel kind of close to that one. So
Well, me too. So let me show you. Let's see if y'all can see this. This is the kit, the Paint Your Own Pony kit that I worked those originals from. And from nose to tail is 9 inches and top to bottom is 6 inches. It's very small. They have, when you order these, you can buy them online and you can order them from Trail of Painted Ponies. There is some paint in there and some brushes, and the first thing you do is throw those away. I don't know how anybody could paint anything with those paints. The brushes lose their hairs. And so this part is great, and you can do a lot of imagining with it. And so I have a few of these left, and I am still doing commissions, but I'm not making anything speculative anymore. When somebody says, would you make me this? I'm right on it. I can do it. So,
Kathy, you just answered my question. I noticed you talked about what the base for each pony, you know, how you came about obtaining them, like the life size, the ones that were from Mexico, the aluminum ones. And so my question was about the little ponies. I thought, well, they're all in the same position, you know, with the front leg that's raised, and then how you added all that intricate work to each one of them. So another question I have is, like I'm looking at the one right behind you, and I'm looking at the one, those are the life-size ponies, the one at the Tanner Gallery in Ruidoso. Once the product is finished, is there like another coat of material or product just to give them that last shine?
oh, that's a great question. The paint I used is called one-shot sign paint, and literally is one shot. The brush strokes level out to completely smooth. They look like they've been sprayed with the airbrush or some spray paint. So as I'm making the brush strokes, you'll see the ridges, but by the time it dries, it's completely smooth and it's completely sealed in that shiny coat that you see. It also has an extremely high level of hiding power. And that means that if I painted a black stripe and then I wanted to paint a white stripe right next to it, and maybe the white stripe overlaps the black a little bit, it completely hides whatever it's covering. It's a total coverage. This was an amazing paint, and it was referred to me by a sign painter here in Las Cruces, and he said that I would really love it. What I didn't realize that I needed a specific solvent to keep it, you know, thin and spreading. So my first day down in Old Town Albuquerque painting, the paint started to thicken and dry, and a sign painter came by. I mean, you know, God provides. Came by and he said, "You don't have the proper material that causes this." And he came back in about an hour with a can of this special material that I could mix the paint and it would keep it flowing. And
She's talking about how she mixed the paint.
yeah. So anyway, it's awesome paint. But also very difficult to work with. It's very strong smell, and it's not good if you get it on your hands. So you noticed I was gloved. I had cotton gloves, rubber glove. The cotton glove to keep my sweat from rolling down my hands as I was working. Well, thank you all for joining us on this ride, and we're planning on doing more presentations. I only have 2 right now, my rocks up on the dam and the Trail of the Painted Ponies, but I'm going to work up some others, like I would like to do a presentation on my kinetic artwork, the artwork that changes when you walk past it. So that's a future one. I'll need to get my act together and do that. And just in regards to the rocks had some vandalism 3 days ago.
Oh, no.
I had about 8 people out there working on picking up broken glass, and it's all better now. You would never know anything happened. So a lot of people came together and took care of it.
Kathy, we want to thank you very much. And I want to tell you, I enjoyed this trail ride more than any trail ride I've ever been on, because I was completely warm and safe and not sunburned or sweaty. So this was a great trail ride.
Sore. Well, thank you, Lynn and Kathy. I really appreciate you guys hosting this for me too.
We'll be glad to do the next one when you're ready.
I will be ready soon.
That says mute. Thank you, Kathy. I enjoyed it. You are extremely talented
Well,
and persevering.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
they used to call it stubborn.
Well, I was called Pain the Jane, so.
Kathy, it was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.